And for some reason, we are live on YouTube. For some reason, Facebook kind of dropped on us. I do not know what happened, but we are live on YouTube. I do not know what happened on the Facebook side, so we're going to just go and see what happens here. And I can get comments, it looks like, so maybe we're live and I just can't see it. But hi, everybody. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me, Mike Piwowarski. He is with the Rundown and Arms Room Radio. And today we've got literally earth-shaking news we need to talk about. There's a lot of stuff going on, but to start off with, Mike, I want to start with a tweet that we got off this morning from Representative Thomas Massie. He tweeted, "If a government does not trust its people with the means of their own defense, it is not a government of those people. The right to keep and bear arms is the only real defense against dictators at home and dictators abroad." And he links a Reuters story where Ukraine's parliament votes to give permissions for civilians to carry arms. And we've already got a comment that's come in where Charlie Chambers says that Ukraine is installing their own Second Amendment and funding it. It looks like things are really happening in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian government is looking for the people to help defend the country. And that's really what, in the United States, the Second Amendment was all about to start with.
Yeah, remember, listen, a lot of history here, even just, with the Ukraine having broken off from the Soviet Union in early mid-90s. So they've floundered for many years there in the Ukraine, trying to find their way and find their government, which happens a lot. I mean, Paul, I want you to think about it. Our country did the same. Remember, our independence was 1775 and 1776, but remember, we had a first Continental Congress, and it wasn't until we came back, in 1789 and got it right. Remember, we had our president was our first couple of presidents were the presidents of Congress. George Washington wasn't president in 1776. It took 13 years for us to figure it out as well. So the Ukraine has gone through that, and they've just recently adopted their form of the Constitution. And listen, all credit due to people like your boss who helped form that. Went to Europe and helped formulate a Second Amendment for their nation.
Yeah, and we from 1776 until 1789, we had what were the Articles of Confederation.
Yep.
And it was a rather, I don't want to say a spectacular fail, but it was a fail. It was absolutely a fail. And
I think it was a valiant first attempt, and this is probably what's gone on over there. A valiant first attempt, and then they sat back and said, "Whew, hold on, this is a little bigger than we thought it was. We're gonna need to do more than just write a single paper on this. And we're gonna have to get a little more in depth. It was the Articles of Confederation were a good outline to get started, I think. And that's, I think, where the Ukraine is now. Again, there's a lot of turmoil over there. Now, I want you to. Paul, think about it this way. What's going on with Russia and the Ukraine? It's the same as the War of 1812. It's as if the British came back and invaded us and said, "You know what? We want another shot at the title. We want a shot at taking you back over. It's only been 25, 30 years. We want a shot to take you back."
Right.
Does that make this an internal civil war? Or does this make this aggression by a third world dictator?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say it's because Ukraine is a acknowledged government in and of itself. And so I would say, speaking as Paul Lathrop, this is an aggression from a foreign power. And Charlie, let me see if I can get this one. Yep, I think I can get this one pulled in. Let me go to social. Yep. Another comment by Charlie Chambers. Let's see if I can get this one put up on screen. Ukraine is the brains of the old Soviet Union, not Russia. Antonov Aircraft is in Kiev, a customer of mine in aerospace, and Chernobyl nuclear engineers are in North Ukraine. Putin wants their IP. Okay. Well, I've seen memes or things on Facebook saying that Ukraine has a lot of Europe and Asia's what am I trying to say? What's the word I'm trying to come up with?
Their resources, yeah,
Yeah,
and
their nuclear resources. Yes.
yeah. Not to mention the access to the waterborne traffic that comes through there. Again, I ask people to, before you jump and believe the news, and I'm not defending Putin by any means. I just say, in my brain, I'm equating this to about the War of 1812. This is the Soviet Union or the British coming back, going, wait a second, you guys have been a little more successful than we like, and now we want your resources back. So we're coming to take it. And again, remember, half the people that live in Ukraine were Soviet citizens. Those are the ones they're calling separatists. You know, maybe. And listen, the firearms issue there. Listen, that doesn't necessarily mean those are the pro-Ukrainian government people. The Soviet citizens may want to protect themselves from others as well. That's the beauty of the Second Amendment, that we have it. It doesn't matter your political party. It's the ability to protect yourself against tyrants and criminals and everything else.
Absolutely. And I'm really hoping that Ukraine turns out much like the War of 1812, and to put it in more recent history and history that Russians will remember. I hope it turns out like Afghanistan did for Russia, because that was very similar. Russia went into Afghanistan to bring them under control, and there were some local boys there that stood up well against the Hind helicopters and the T-72 tanks with handheld weapons.
Well, listen, and it worked that way in Vietnam as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lot to be watched there. And again, I think you and I say this all the time, and I know nobody's picking a side here, but find your facts. Don't just watch one brand of news. Just because all of a sudden it's not talking about Democrats versus Republicans, there's no reason to all of a sudden believe the news at face value again. Find your own facts and do your own research.
Yep. Do some adjusting here because my lighting is off. Let me see if I can do something.
I remember this didn't start this week. You know, during the Obama administration, the Russians invaded and took over Crimea, however you want to say it, because of the assets and the resources there. And again, it was seen then as territorial because of the former association with the Soviet Union. It was seen as more as an internal conflict. Then we had, President Trump with his cowboy diplomacy, right? He's a horrible leader, madman, orange tweets, yet we had none of this going on. Literally within days of, President Biden taking office, you got Putin peering over the mountains again, looking down at the Ukraine going, you know what, all of a sudden it looks attractive again. So.
Yeah. Well, and add to it our disastrous pullout from the Middle East when we did and left back all that equipment behind. Yeah, I think Putin's thinking, if we can get them to make a fast retreat out of Eastern Europe, we're going to get all kinds of goodies.
Right. Yeah. It's listen, Putin, if anything, he's a good tactician, right? And he knows who his opponent is right now. He's playing chess while Biden's playing checkers. That's just the way it is.
You get a few more comments in here. Kevin Sona, a good friend that we were talking about pre-show. Were your ears burning, Kevin? Kevin says, get ready for the cyber attacks from Russia and China. We can be taken down without a shot ever being fired. I'm certainly hoping that the military's networks are ultra secure and that they've been kept up that way over the past 18 months. And that over the past, let's say year, things haven't gone south in military cybersecurity.
I'll give you a little hint, and you know what, and folks, I may sound like I'm trying to pump up the last president again. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. He branch of the military, the Fifth Armed Force, the Space Force. And guess what? One of the Space Force's primary tasks is to prevent us from being attacked via cyberspace. So, it's again the things like he's done and was able to look around the world and see where the need was, and nobody messed with us and nobody attacked us. So hopefully one of his lair will help aid us from what Kevin Sona doesn't the same way.
You're breaking up just a little bit there, Mike. Let me get one more comment in here. Michael Schmidt says, I was wondering if this subject was on the menu for discussion today. Thank God it is. Bravo Zulu. I guess Bravo Zulu's a little bit over my head, Mike.
It's all good. We can't translate that on the radio here.
Okay. All right. I know what Bravo Sierra is, and that's certainly not not for family discussion. One I want to get this one from John, and I'm John, from your lips to God's ears, man. He says the same with Finland, 1939, 1940. Putin may find out that the price was not worth the purchase. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so, John.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Yeah. And Bravo Zulu is nautical terms for well done.
Okay.
Good job, kind of stuff.
Let's. I want to, because I do want to keep this. The show was set up to be mostly about gun rights and mostly about the U.S. We had to cover, simply because what's going on in Ukraine, especially with the Ukrainian Parliament looking to arm the citizens through something like a Second Amendment, that does directly relate. But we do have some Second Amendment news. And what I do want to talk about is California is running full speed ahead with a law that is kind of mirroring Texas's abortion law, in that it's going to allow your average citizen to sue a gun manufacturer if that gun manufacturer somehow gets, it doesn't matter how, but if a gun makes it into California that is not conforming exactly to every one of their assault weapon bans, the manufacturer can be sued, and it's by a citizen, not by the state of California. And there's a bounty for citizens to do this. And the Firearms Policy Coalition has already made statements against this. My boss is fully aware of this and is working on it. There are a bunch of lawyers that are primed and ready to go on this. But they're saying, well, it's just like the Texas abortion law. I'm warning you, California, the right to keep and bear arms is in the Second Amendment of the Constitution. The right to the abortion is nowhere in the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly right. Listen, you'll hear them talk about all the time their constitutional rights to abortion. I've never seen it in the Constitution, Paul. The Second Amendment clearly is the Second Amendment, but here's the difference between this law in Texas and the law that they're proposing in California is the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, PLACA, the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. So let's say you in California, you want to, under this law, file a suit against me for having, and I believe the way it's worded is, committed a crime with a firearm or having a firearm and committing a crime. So one way or the other there. Sure, sue me in court. And then I pull out the PLACA, and the federal law says you must dismiss it because I did not. Now, if I broke the law, Paul, that's different. If I committed a felony with this. Now, here's the issue, which I think this is really cool that we're going to see. They're saying you could use this law to sue somebody that has an assault weapon in California under California assault weapon law, right? Following me so far?
Yeah.
So we go to court and I pull out PLACA, right? And the court says, but the state law says that assault rifle is illegal, but the federal law says it's not. Guess where we're going next?
Going into federal court.
Yep. I think this accelerates it. I think this shoots California in And Newsom is so dumb he doesn't even realize it. He thinks, again, this is the perfect example of he's playing checkers while the rest of us are playing chess.
Yeah, that could very well be. Now it goes into the Ninth Circuit Court, but it does go into federal court.
That's right. That's right.
So this is what it's not law yet. We'll have
Correct.
to see.
Same would apply there with ghost guns also. They're putting ghost guns on their books. So if somebody sues, oh, he's got a ghost gun, and that's the whole crime, right? He has the ghost gun. Goes to court. Well, legal federally. I'm using a federal defense. You're saying it's illegal state. We're going to federal court. And guess what? If we go to federal court and we don't agree there, we're going to Supreme Court, baby.
And with the current makeup of the Supreme Court,
that's right.
Yeah, I'm salivating for that.
Yeah, California is going to help us get there. It's wonderful.
Let me come over, and I've got things spread out all over my desktop. Let me get some comments. We've got a lot more comments that have come in. I'm not going to be able to get them all in, but let me get a couple of these comments in. And going back to the Ukraine thing, I'm going to pop this one in. Putin shorted the major markets, including Russia's, to make more money before invading. He will then go long for more earnings. He's playing the markets, in my humble opinion. Yeah, Charlie, it's entirely possible. Yeah, talk about the ultimate inside information. And who's gonna, he's the ultimate leader in his country. Who's gonna prosecute him? You know? So,
right? Is this what this really comes down to? Does this come down to Putin's market strategy versus Biden's Ukrainian oil interests?
You know, I'd almost forgot about what Hunter was doing over there.
Right.
Wow. Okay. And then Michael going to the abbreviation, military speed. Well done. There we go.
Yeah.
One more. Let me go over here to. I want one more story I want to get to, and that is this one from Indiana. And I really think Indiana. The problem with constitutional carry in Indiana, the House, boom, passed it, record speed. It's been stalled in the Senate. The governor wants to run for U.S. Senate, has told the Senate, the state Senate, do not send me this. I do not want to have to either sign or veto this and then run for U.S. Senate. I don't want this bill. And now it looks like the Senate's saying, you know, you're gonna have to deal with it because we're hearing from our constituents. They want it. You're gonna have to deal with it. And now the Senate police chief he's having a cow over it. He's saying, well, police aren't going to have any idea who the good guys and bad guys are when they pull them over. Mike, you've been a policeman.
Same old song and dance, yeah. Right? Same old song and dance from the police politicians.
Yes,
Douglas Carter. He's the state police colonel there in charge of the Indiana State Police, and he got up there and did his little song and dance about how bad it is to let citizens have guns. You know, meantime, they had a couple of sheriffs come in. They're constitutionally elected sheriffs, and they stood up and said, "This is good. This is a good thing for us. This is citizens with firearms that understand the Second Amendment, understand responsibilities. This just gives them the right to defend themselves. How long does it take us to get to calls now? You're defunding us across the nation. We see all of the disrespect for police. We have to give the citizenry the opportunity to defend themselves, and this is what this law does. It gives them back constitutional rights that we've taken from them over the years." But no. Not Colonel Douglas Carter there. He comes in and says, it's going to be blood on the streets. It's going to be the Wild West. It's every cry that we've ever seen everywhere, Paul. And we know that every time these laws pass, it's the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. Yet this guy manages to convince the Senate committee there, and they take pieces out. They take the the constitutional carry part out, and their negotiation was, once you apply for the firearm now, you can legally carry it until you get your permit. So you don't have to worry about carrying without a permit as long as you can prove you've applied, because the big complaint was it's taking forever to get our permits. So that's the tiny compromise the rhinos and the Democrats gave after this Democrat police chief there, who by the way was appointed by Mike Pence, Republican, and then reappointed by Holcomb, the current Republican governor. So I don't know. I bet you if I check this guy's bank account right now, there's a lot of transaction history that's gone on for him to get up there and talk like this. Bet you he's close to retirement and going to retire on Bloomberg Island or something like that.
Could very well be. Or Epstein Island or something like that.
Yeah.
It's and it's funny because most of the police officers I've had conversations. I've never been a police officer, never wanted to be a police officer. But most of the police officers I know, because of experience and training, they know within a few seconds of pulling somebody over, within a few seconds of contact with somebody, whether everything's okay or not, without having to see a concealed carry permit, without having to, they know if something's good or something's not so good just within a few seconds of contact, whether or not there's a piece of paper there. And so for these chiefs to go, well, we're not going to know if this is a good person or a bad person if there's not that piece of paper there, that's just a bunch of hooey.
This is a politician police chief wanting to keep his job when the current governor moves on. Like we just said, he's running for Senate. He wants to stay in favor. He wants to be neutral and doesn't want to piss off his boss.
Yeah. Well, let's one more, and this is a great story. This one comes off of nationalinterest.org. Record number of Massachusetts residents apply for gun permits. And that caught my eye. Now, and I delved into the story. What's kind of the catch there is gun permits, that Massachusetts, you need a permit to purchase. So it's not necessarily all of these are carry permits. Matter of fact, I would say the vast majority are probably not carry permits in Massachusetts. Right. But still, if a lot of people are getting permits to purchase, that means they're becoming gun owners, which is a good thing.
Yeah, since the onset of and all this nonsense with the BLM, the rates have gone up to over 50,000 a year applying for a firearms identification card, FID card, whatever they call it. I think it's an FID card in Massachusetts, which is up from the norm of like 30,000. And that probably includes renewals there as well. But so almost doubled. It's been 53, 54,000. So that's a great sign. Like you said, that's not the concealed carry permit. That's something completely different, and that's still a may issue up there rather than a shall issue. But it's great to see, Paul, because you're exactly right. It means firearm ownership nearly doubling in the time in the last 2 years. And I saw all the research. It was great research, great poll you had there. The most interesting thing I found out there, I didn't know, you can get a firearms ID card there in Massachusetts as early as 15 years old.
And honestly, I personally know 10 to 12-year-olds that I would be absolutely fine with having a cricket rifle. They've demonstrated they have absolutely the maturity to handle something like that. So, yeah, 15-year-olds, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, listen, you and I are coming from that, pro Second Amendment stance. I'm sure Massachusetts looks at it like, hey, listen, that's more people name. We can start tying firearms for registration and get more people with more application fees. It's not a tax, right? But yeah, I love it. I mean, it just says that there is a modicum of youth out there that can legally, I guess, possess and be trained on those firearms.
Yeah. We get to going back to the story about the constitutional carry and whether police need that little piece of paper to tell if you're a good guy or a bad guy. John says police still have NICS confirm if they're dealing with a criminal. They can always call in a dispatch and, find out if you've got a warrant. And if there's, if you've got a record, I'm assuming. But let's see here.
It's true. It's true. But like you said, Paul, it's seconds that matter up front. And it's those seconds that you can hopefully determine, that good guy or bad guy. The only thing to worry about is if the bad guy decides to be good or bad.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. I think we have one more story we wanted to cover. Let me see if I can go get that. There we go. And then the last story I had was from Michigan, and they're trying to get through the story headline. Marquette County Health Department Board hears from UP legislators regarding gun safety law. They're trying to get a safe storage law passed up in Michigan. And Mike, I don't know if you were able to see the DC Project video that came out last week. I played it both on the Polite Society podcast and on the Daily Bullet yesterday when Amanda was here. But Mary, and I wish I could remember her last name, but she's with the DC Project, and she shared her personal story where she was attacked, and if there would have been a safe storage law, she probably would have been killed because she was able to fight to get to her gun in the bedside drawer. And if she would have had to get into a safe, she'd have been, her and her daughter would have been victims and probably wouldn't have been here to tell the story. Safe storage laws, I can only imagine, are going to take far more lives than they are going to save.
Yeah, listen. How do you enforce a safe storage law? You're gonna come into my house and with a warrant to check and see if I'm committing a misdemeanor or not when you have no evidence of such. How are we gonna do that? How's the due process work for that? Paul, I'm all about responsible gun ownership, the same way you are. If a firearm is not on me, it's locked and secured away. If I'm going to go to sleep, if I'm going to do something along those lines, I'm going to find another way to secure it, and it's not going to be in one of those right to get the gun out. My gun will be my access. My children will be safe. My family will be safe. The only person that's not going to be safe is the bad guy if they come in the house, because I will definitely have immediate access to one of my firearms. And thankfully, I've never had to put it in a safe storage box and worry about the bad guy getting there or between me and it. Right? That's the fear. That I want to make sure I abide by the misdemeanor rather than have my family killed.
Absolutely. I would, speaking to my own personal situation, do I have gun safes in multiple? Yes, I do. Is every gun in a gun safe when I go to sleep? No, not even close. There are actually 3 or 4 that are out and about, and I don't have to get into a safe to get them. So, they're still secured because they're still in my locked house. Right. However, you're going to have to get into the locked house and then through me to get to them. So, and
break into my house
and Susan. And our dogs, and of the 3, me and Susan and the dogs, I'd be most worried about Susan.
Come on, break into my house and see who's better at hide and seek. Let's try it.
All right. Well,
see where the Easter eggs are hidden in my house.
We're about out of time, man. Before we go, though, what's been up with the rundown and what's coming up on Arms Room Radio, man?
Woo, let's see. Arms Room Radio, always good stuff coming on. Listen, all things gun, all the gun time. Tune in Saturdays 3 to 5 live on the Eastern, armsroomradio.com. And Oplens is now carrying the rundown. So we're pretty psyched about that. I believe we come on right after you do, Paul. So today you get to see a double dose of me if you're sticking around.
Very, very cool. And this coming Saturday, you're going to be on the Weekly Bullet with me coming up at noon Central Time. So you go from the Weekly Bullet, then a few hours later, you're going into Arms Room Radio.
Exactly right. Yep. So another double dose.
Absolutely. And we've had a little bit of a change for those of you who are going to be joining us this weekend. We've had a little bit of a change of lineup. Mark Walters cannot join us this weekend, but Craig DeLuz. So it's going to be all the rundown is going to be on the Weekly Bullet. So
there we go.
Craig DeLuz is going to be joining us. Mike Piwowarski will be on, and Rob Morris will be here for the Weekly Bullet on Saturday. That's 12 noon Central Time. Tomorrow is Alex Uli for the Daily Bullet. Come join us at 5 p.m. Central Time for that. That's the time we have today, everybody. Thank you for